I'd like to welcome one of the ubiquitous faces of the Steelpan art movement, a man whose name is synonymous with excellence in Steelpan, an immensely talented performer, arranger, promoter, and revered star of the Pan fraternity, Andre White. Andre, how are you feeling?
Good man. Trying to stay warm.
Nice, nice. Andre, I've been so looking forward to doing this interview, which I have put off several times because I simply could not get a grasp of the enormity of your accomplishments. The buffet was so proliferous, I couldn't focus on one highlight. Let's just start with your current creative focus. What are you working on right now? What has your creative attention right now?
Um, I'm in the process of releasing my first, well, I should say my band's, conventional band's first album, entitled, but the name of the band is called The Culture Effects, DFX, and the name of the project is called For the Culture.
Nice.
That's taking up predominantly most of my time. I'm getting ready to head to DC in about a week or so to do a masterclass with Catonsville. Um, I have some work to do out there, and then I have some projects I'm doing with the Elite Pan Custodium in Virginia Beach. I go to Toronto in July, and then Panama all over the world again.
Wow, wow,
In different countries again this summer.
wow. So, what's the composition of your band for that project?
Well, it was comprised of a vocalist. His name is Kawhi Williams, drummer, Sheldon Thwaites, Quentin Rose on keys, myself, and Kareem Thompson on steel pan, as well as Kyle Miles on the synthetic, and electric bass.
Wow, nice. So, and what's the scheduled release for that project?
To be honest, I can't even tell you. Right now, we're in the middle of finalizing the mixes for each song.
Uh-huh.
Once that's complete and we get the masters done, we hope to release as soon as possible. It's something that we've been pushing off. I mean, as they say, great art is nothing that you could really rush. So
Right,
we've been trying to just take our time and make sure that the project is at the standard in which we want to put out there to the world.
right. I got you. Okay. So, in terms of marketing and distribution, that kind of thing, is that something that you're considering right now, or is that down the road? Or you just focus on just the production right now?
No, well, we've already started to look at some of the online distribution companies, such as CD Baby and some of the others. I can't remember exactly the one that we would have came to as our final decision, but I know we're doing it through, it's modern time, so one of those
I see.
online publication platforms because
I see.
everyone's an independent artist right now, independent
I
people
see.
there.
Okay, so you're handling all of that yourself, the
Right.
whole marketing thing all by yourself. Okay, right, pretty good. So, boy, you just given us an insight to your whole schedule for this year, and that's intense.
Yeah.
So, just could you put like that particular project within the context of your ultimate goal as a panelist in your life journey? Where does this stand?
Well, that project is what I hope to be the catalyst for me really evolving as an artist, as a musician, outside of
Uh-huh.
the Panama and the cultural arena of the instrument. You know, too many times, us as pianists get stuck in that vein of footy culture, and it's great, you know. Hence the irony of and of the album, the title of the album, footy culture, because we wanted to do something which would have transcended into the popular, the popular music market and brought the instrument into a kind of light that it probably hasn't been into for a long time, probably since Robbie Greenidge and Ralph McDonald and those guys, and probably even further than that. Um, so, hopefully if that project goes exactly how I have in my mind, it will take me into a stratosphere that probably not many have gone before.
Two things come to mind. Um, does that take away at all from your contributions in the panorama environment?
Uh, that's a good question because to be honest with you, I've been battling with myself, especially over these past few months, on how long do I want to remain in the Panama region, and how conducive is it to the longevity of my career as a musician? Because I don't like to pigeonhole or stifle myself to this idea of just being a pianist. I'm a musician. I spent a lot of years on my craft on multiple instruments, and just being able to be multifaceted in different genres and styles and different settings as a musician. So I don't think it will take away. I think hopefully at that point it makes it easier for me as a musician to deal with the stress of Panama. We know as well, those who arrange understand the stress of being in the culture to constantly being able to constantly have to being able to produce at a high level.
Yes.
Right now we're in the, I like to call it the IG era of everything, instant gratification. There's no more this idea of you, you're grooming with an arranger, you're building with an arranger, you're building with a group of guys. Everybody wants results right now. You want to win right now,
Yeah.
or else it's on to the next one. So hopefully, if all goes well with this album, that pressure of having to do this, because right now, Panama is, for many of us, probably one of our main, forms of income as a pianist.
Yeah.
So at that point, not just, not having to rely on the Panama to number one, present creativity, present my art, and not having to rely on Panama anymore to just be the only way for me to generate serious income as a musician, which is not, still at this point, is not the only way, but is one of the
Yeah.
major ways. Would relieve a lot of stress for me as a musician, as an artist.
Very good. So, just an arbitrary question. If you had everything you needed right now, how would you use it in terms?
In terms of what, money?
No, is that a need? It's so. I mean, basically, what I'm trying to separate is your challenges from your goals.
If I had everything I needed right now, I feel as if I'd be a lot more. I don't want to use the word inclined, but it would be a lot easier to give back to where I want to give back. Give back to the culture that gave so much to me. Give back to the
Yeah.
instrument that given so much to me. It's giving me the life that I have today. You know, as I spoke about the stress of being a pianist, but there's also a comfortability being a
Yeah.
pianist or a musician, because I get to do what I love to do as an
Yes.
occupation every day. I get up in the day, I practice, I work on music, I do music for a bunch of different people, different groups, ensembles, orchestras, both steel bands and traditional.
Yeah.
So just to have that as my occupation, I'm blessed, and that's
Yes.
something I could continue to do. So to have everything I need would be,
Yeah.
it's just, as I said, taking off a lot of the stress of everyday life right now.
Right. Okay. And so, just a follow-up question: how do you see that benefit? How does your community perceive that benefit of
Of giving
that
back.
gift of what you're giving back?
Um, you know, hopefully it'd be the benefit of showing, well, number one, being the example of the possibilities and more of what's capable if you
Hmm.
really put the time in. And, me being able to not only just spread knowledge, but spread experiences and share my experiences and my wisdom behind being an artist. would help, future planners, future musicians, you know, be more comfortable, be more confident coming up into the music scene as it is today. And
Mhm.
you know, I think if I was to think about myself 10 years ago and to know the information I have now, if somebody was able to give me that, I would be a lot further ahead. You know, and I think it would just help the whole situation grow. I always like
Yes.
to. I've had a lot of conversations with a couple of friends of mine about the quote unquote golden era of Steelpan Panorama, because it's a Steelpan show, so we talk about um,
Yep.
the golden era of Panorama, and the players musicianship, and even the way how we view and listen and interpret the music has diminished quite drastically. And I cannot seem to understand why, but hopefully, you know, if we could get back to that place of sharing that knowledge, sharing that wisdom, of being able to grasp a better and deeper understanding about what we're really trying to do, and to taking it forward more musically than anything else. I think it overall
Right.
it would help this thing grow internationally as well, and get back that respect internationally. Hopefully, I answered your
Excellent.
question.
You've touched on some of the questions that I have for you. So so this a little bit of background. You are from New York,
Yeah, I live in New York right now.
right? And at the age of 6, you were considered a musical prodigy when you began playing with a Long Island-based ad-lib,
Yes.
Seal Orchestra. And when did you decide that pan was going to be your life's passion?
The first time I, I believe I was about 10 or 9 years old, probably even younger than that. And the first time I've ever received a Len Booksy Shop album. It's actually, and the ironic thing about that is it's actually not his album. It's Chris Revich's Trio's album, and Booksy Shop was the featured artist on the album. And the trio
Hmm.
was Booksy Shop, Chris Revich on bass, on drums, and I forget the bass player's name, the guy from Barbados. And I literally would have played that album for about 3 years every day before I go to sleep. Because the
Wow.
kind of stuff I couldn't understand how one person with two sticks could play all them parts and make it sound like four instruments at one time. And so that just blew my mind. And ever since then, I used to take that album apart, play everything Bootsy was playing on that album, and then I would have obviously discovered and became close friends with a lot of guys like Robbie Greenidge and Jit Samu when Jit started to come up, and Bradley. And so my exposure to the quote unquote greats, the soloists of the instrument, and the arranging scene um, would have helped solidify my vision of wanting to do this thing full time, wanting to be the best at this thing that I possibly could be for myself.
Yeah.
So
What kind of support and encouragement were you receiving, like from family, friends, and the musical community?
that was it was mixed support. Some was for it, some was in many ways used to tell me it's a dead end dream, it's a dead end vision. What kind of longevity could I have with this as a career? You That's not a real way to make money. It's not a real way to support a family or something like that. So, you know, I've had mixed reviews on all aspects, friends, family, everybody.
Yeah.
But I guess you could say I would have proved many wrong. And everybody's on board. And
Yeah.
when they have some kind of event or they want to brag and boast and say, yeah, I'm a nephew or something like that. Yeah, that's my brother. Dre. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. How many years did you play with Adlib?
I would have played with Adlib from 1997 to 2013.
Wow. Now, during that time, you attended Berklee College of Music.
Yeah, that was that's the college I went to from 2008 to about 2012.
Were there any other pianists there at that time while you were there?
Yeah, man, we had a star-studded cast of pianists. uh, During my tenure at Berkeley, it was myself, Kareem Thompson, Iman Pascal, Earl Brooks Jr., um, Candiata Shepherd. Um, it had two gentlemen from the Virgin Islands. Their name escapes me. Sorry, brethren, I can't remember their name if they hear this. And some others that would have passed through, Kadeem Aline and some others, Sheldon Thwaites. Even though
Wow.
Sheldon's not necessarily, he didn't go to school as a pianist, but obviously he could play piano, he knows the culture. He was actually a
Yeah.
drummer. His principal instrument was drums, but we still consider him as a pianist among the community. But yeah, man, my little 4 years or 5 years or whatever, how long, we had a nice group of pianists that came.
How old were you when you won your first New York Panorama?
I was 17. 17, all right, this one part.
Wow.
17,
17.
yeah.
And then you went on to win like three more or two more titles?
Yeah, so it's 3 Panamas in New York, and then 4 Panamas in England. Won 2 Panamas in Guyana, and I won 2 of the single Panamas in Trinidad.
Wow.
So,
And in the Trinidad arena, when was your first assignment there?
as an arranger, my
Yeah.
first year arranging in Trinidad was 2010. I worked with up Clico Swartzata, and the interesting thing about that experience was that they were the reigning champions, and so immediately my first experience in Trinidad has always been and still is into the fire one time, and
Wow.
with no room for error at all. I don't really
Pressure.
get much. Yeah. There's a lot of always. I just always tell people, the kind of stakes that I'm up against. It's have nobody else has had to go through that. So that first year was when I actually composed and arranged my own song. We made the finals. We came ninth or no, we came last actually in the finals. But first year it was definitely a great experience.
Wow. And what year did you arrange for your first big band or large band competition?
That was in 2012 with Desperados.
Desperados. Yeah. How did you do with that one?
We didn't make the finals. We missed it by a point, and interestingly enough, they tied 2 bands for 10th place to bring in the next band. Yeah. Interesting things have happened to me in the Panama Arena in Trinidad. But say what? That's how it is.
Yeah. And what other large bands you've arranged for since?
Well, this year we did Skiffle Bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. We came in the prelims, we ran 3rd, and it's the same situation with the exact same points, exact same position, exact same thing happened for the semis as with Desperados. So it's a very interesting statistic, as you would say.
You know what? I'm going to put this aside for a minute because I'm going to delve into that a little bit later. So, as a requirement of graduation at Berkeley, were you required to present like a business plan as to how you expected to use your music education to make a living?
Yeah. Actually, your quote unquote, as they would say, almost like your thesis or your graduate class, your capstone class, was to present some kind of business module that you would have created with intricate detail on how you would be able to establish a business and something that would be lucrative. One of them that I came up with was I wanted to start up an entertainment agency for instrumentalists, not just Steelpans, but all instrumentalists, in the sense that and actually no, it wasn't just instrumentalists. If I could remember, it's not just instrumentalists. It was all kind of things. Whether it be you need to rent equipment for your events, or you need some kind of anything to do with creating your events decor, including,
Uh-huh. I get
instrumentalists
you.
and artists and stuff like that. So yeah, that was my business proposal.
I see. Okay. So, and then of course the rigors and demands of Pan and Panorama, etc. Did that deter you from that particular model?
I mean, yeah, man. COVID happened.
Yeah,
So you had also,
yeah,
kind
adjust.
of, yeah, just climate.
Yeah,
I started teaching for a little bit. I was teaching at a high school out here in New York, in Brooklyn, actually, for about 2 years.
yeah,
And then everything opened up, and then the amount of calls to go on tour, and to travel here and there. Um,
yeah,
I was recently, last year, I did a few dates. I guess you could kind of say a little bit. I was on tour a little bit with Etienne Charles,
yeah,
uh, and also doing my own thing as well.
yeah,
Did a couple
yeah.
of different master classes up and down the East Coast,
Right,
states.
right. So you did release an album when it's 2016, Liberation Music.
Yeah, yeah. That would have been my first project uh, outside of the Panama. That was a young Andre White trying to revolt from the Panama scene.
Yeah,
Trying to revolt, and it was one of those periods where I think I had to reflect and look in the mirror, and really say to myself, how sustainable is Panama as a musician? Forget winning, forget losing. How sustainable? In the grand scheme of things. And I'll give you a funny story, right? Uh, you know, I've had many success in my early years, uh, younger years, I should say. I'm still young, but the younger years. Uh, and I remember after winning maybe the Panama here, or in London or something like that, and after that I would have went back to Berkeley. And I, I don't know if you're familiar with Berkeley, but Berkeley is it's a school where most of the biggest artists in the world just kind of go there and like handpick their musicians to back their band. So
yeah,
summer's done, everybody's going back to start their first day for the semester for classes, and everybody's congregating in the main hall, and they're talking, and you hear this one say, "Oh, you did this summer?" And man, I was on tour with Usher. Man, I was on tour with Beyonce. Man, I did something with Neo. Andre, what you do this summer? Well, I did Panorama. Oh, really? What's that? And that kind of woke me up to really think. And to us culturally, it's really important. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, does it really take you as a musician to another level with your musicianship? You know, does
yeah,
it really get you in the door to places in which bring the instrument to be recognized globally, and not just recognized anymore, just to be respected globally as an instrument that has the capabilities to do anything. It's still too much revered as a novelty, and
yeah.
as much some people might play on it and think that it's a great thing. I kind of get annoyed. I get annoyed every now and then when you go on a gig and I'm an accident, but you could solo on that. Of course, I have all the notes you have. And then I started to play something that, I started to play changes, and I play and all them, play bebop and all kind of stuff, and they're blown away. They couldn't believe it. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, I had to
yeah,
really reflect, and that album, Liberation Music, hence the term liberation, breaking free
yes,
from any kind of chains or any kind of uh, stigmas that may hold you down. Uh,
got it. Yeah. How was it received?
it was received well. Actually, I still tour with a lot of the compositions from that album.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the schools and stuff like that, they would have requested the charts and stuff like that, and I would have
Yeah.
given it to them. and
Cool.
yeah, it's received really well. A lot of the compositions all over the
Very
world,
good.
people play, especially the title track, Liberation
Yes.
Music. A lot of people would have done their own uh, arrangements and stuff like that.
Were you able to recoup much of your investment, or was it just a labor of love?
I would say that one was a labor of love, and there's a lot of trial and error involved with um, doing that project. We as planners think that you know, you just go into the studio and record, and it's so
Right.
much more to that, you know, aspect of musicianship. Recording by itself is another game, and there's a whole completely different world. Um, the guy to me that would have mastered that from a pianist perspective would be Andy Narell. I don't know anybody who's recorded better quality. Now we're not talking about musicianship, we're not talking about notes, but just the idea to
Right.
be able to cultivate a project that is marketable to everybody and it's pleasing on the air and it's something that represents a great quality and for this. I'm not saying he's the only one, but probably
Right.
he's probably been the best at it,
Hmm.
to really record the instrument in its totality as an orchestra. Um, but yeah, it was a learning experience because ironically enough, I wasn't pleased with the outcome that I got sonically. The music was great, but
Yes.
sonically, the recording wasn't how I expected it to be. But as I say, you do these things for the love, you do it for the experience, and I was still able
Right.
to gain a lot from the project, other than monetary lucrativity.
Okay. Uh, what we touched a little bit on this, but what are the challenges of actually selling your music online? Um,
I mean, right now, you don't really. I don't think there's any artist in the world right now, no matter what genre, no matter how big you are, that is really making money from streams.
exactly.
You don't make money from streams. The money comes from being able to talk, being able to go on the road with your music, being able to present it in a live setting. Um, but people use the recordings as almost like their resume. This is what I have to offer. So and that's
Yeah.
how I view it now. So when I put
Yeah.
out projects, it's a resume. Also, um, coming back to the pan community, we don't have too much recordings for our next generation to come up with. Stuff that they can listen to revert to say, I'm going to listen to this album to grasp and obtain as much knowledge as I could to help grow my own personal interest in becoming a musician, and to cultivate my own sound as a musician.
Right.
So we just need to keep producing music. Um, I just want to send a special shout out to guys like Lembo Shop, uh, Ray Hallman, um, Robbie Greenidge, Earl Rodney. Guys who I've had and I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have many opportunities to sit down and in many ways call friends of mine, um,
Yeah.
who have paved the way. Those guys' records is who I would have grown up listening to, and really built built the foundation of my sound as a musician, as an arranger and composer, and a pianist musician.
Hmm.
So,
Oh, so who do you perceive as your demographic? What's your typical consumer of your work is like?
I mean, I think the age ranges, the age and you know the geographical realm. I think it's definitely international because I would have touched many different places throughout the world. Um, but I like to cater my music with a little flavor for everyone, uh,
Yeah.
but also with the focus of being present within the moments that are now,
Hmm.
within what's happening currently in music. Something that's progressive, something that's gonna. So I like to do music that's gonna last past my life expectancy. So when I'm past and I'm gone, and it's still holding up. I think those are the greatest records. When you can listen to something on repeat over and over and over, and you can never get tired of it. That means you made a quality recording, and you've done music that lasts a lifetime.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna go back on the topic of Panorama.
Of course,
So
it could never be a pan show without Panorama.
right. So Panorama festivals are growing in popularity, believe it or not.
Right.
Not just in the Caribbean, but internationally.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an opinion on how the format might be improved to allow for greater appeal, to promote the art form and make it more lucrative for the performers?
In what aspect? In terms of, in what aspect? Yeah.
I'm talking about the final product that goes out there, general appreciation for someone to want to come back, someone who want to.
I think the product of Panorama needs to be more open to change, generally. In the sense that I would say, how we present ourselves on the stage, to the music that we present, to how things are recorded, how, the world is ever changing. But for some reason, I don't know if we're talking exactly just Panama and Trinidad, but Panoramas, most of the ones that I've been associated with have been stagnant. They've been doing what they've been doing for however many years. And the idea of changing that, to me, seems to be scary to them. They don't understand it, I don't know if they could understand how to change or what needs to change, but it has to change. It has to come to the times. It has to get up to the times. So what's happening on an international market? There are festivals around the world that they could reference, right? There's different concerts, there's different shows, there's different things that they could pull from to just enhance the overall production of what a Panama really is. In my opinion, with the many Panamas that I would have attended and taken a part of throughout the world, probably England has been the most progressive one. On all levels. How they presented, having the back screen behind the bands with the band names, and there's a video image presented in the back of the band showing different ideas, with different pictures and sonically matching what's taking place on the stage. The lighting on the stage actually makes it look like a concert, and then you have performances in between, and then down to the judging panel. There's actually judges that you could look them up and see their criteria. They would have either taken place within Panamas around the world, or have the musical capabilities and accolades that match, their judgments. So, I mean, it's just about really being open to change. I think that is what needs to change. Ironically enough, be open to change. Make the change. Right.
Okay, I get it. Personally, I think Panorama arrangers are true musical geniuses of the art form. I really believe that. But for a lot of people, especially the uninitiated, Panorama is noise. Now, is there any merit in creating a festival, or I don't know, just a new presentation where you have smaller units? Maybe, say you take a unit of one person from each section, which makes the music, the movement of each section more perceptible. Is that a feasible thing? Does that make any sense?
How many people is going to see this video? If I'm honest, I've had Duvon is a personal friend of mine. I've had many discussions, and one thing I've said to him, because I'm involved so much in Panama, especially in Trinidad, the idea of not being able to properly compensate the players has been a thing so long. And I said, but what if the sizes of the bands if I tell you that the sizes of the bands are too large, especially for the technological advancement that we've made with the instruments today. It's almost like these instruments are getting louder and more brighter, but then the bands are getting bigger to go with it. But that's not sonically pleasing to the ears. So why don't we cut the numbers? And we had a great you're laughing because you know what I say this is the truth. We had a
Why not this up?
we had a great presentation of that, representation of that with the ICP. We didn't miss anything when all the bands were 60 players. Did you feel like you missed that power? Here in All Stars with 60 players? Or here in Phase 2 with 60 players? I felt like I didn't miss anything. The music still came across powerful. The arrangements were nice. The presentations were still there. But for some reason, we have this idea that a band must go on stage with 120 or 140 players to have that power. But it's not true. I've heard some small bands in the Panama, especially within the last 3-4 years, that sung bigger than plenty of the big bands. So back to your first question of, do we need to have some kind of format of going back to maybe do some kind of ensemble festival? Possibly. But another aspect of it is, I really believe that us as the arrangers have a part to play with, have a big part to play as well. And here also why I would say this. We've gotten away from making music where it is pleasing on the ears sonically through orchestration, and we have substituted that now with power. Now, when you do that with power, you lose clarity because you're going to get more. You know what I mean? You're aiming to just get more impact. Whereas you had the giants before us and the legends before us, the Bradleys and the Rays and the Earl Rodneys and those guys who really, and the Beverly Griffiths and those guys who really orchestrated properly for the instruments. There's different octaves and notes for a reason. You know what I mean? You have to learn that each instrument is given a different sonic space. There's no reason why the whole background had to be in this low frequency. Steelpan, everybody. We just have to think about things. We have to stop thinking about things as one tertiary kind of a direction or preliminary direction, and think of it as a whole sonic scope. And I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know why we've gotten away from, as a friend of mine calls it, doing sexy music that people could appreciate and interpret. But I think we have to get back to really, really, really focusing on the sonics. And you made a good point that a lot of people can't appreciate the music anymore. It's too aggressive.
Yeah.
Too aggressive. The orchestration is aggressive. The playing technique, the playing approach to the instruments is too aggressive. It's losing its appeal.
Yeah. Panorama is actually very esoteric.
Absolutely.
It's very esoteric. So here's a double-edged sword. Some of these problems you just outlined there actually can be carved by manipulating the criteria.
100%.
On the other hand, how do you like creating to a criteria as opposed to just
how do you put a criteria to creativity to begin with?
Exactly.
I also made the point, and people don't kill me, please. This is just ideas that sometimes when I'm in my old little thoughts, because I still am in the Panama active and I just still go, I still partake. And I understand the culture and I love the culture and I do it. But in many ways, I feel like there is no more creativity in Panama. They've literally taken, and understand what I mean by that.
Yeah.
There are unwritten rules now. And I'm specifically talking mainly about Panama and Trinidad that an arranger has to abide by in order to present something that is deemed as qualified, right? That essentially takes all creativity out of the window. You know, it's almost as if the judges are saying, we like the style and the approach of this one individual. So if your arrangement doesn't match that, it's not deemed as creative. So you've literally taken all creativity out of the competition by doing that. And I'm not asking him, I'm telling him because I've had the judges' remarks be such to me,
Wow.
written out as such to me. I'm not hearing this. I'm not hearing, I'm not hearing the modulation as this. But there's many ways to modulate. You don't always have to modulate chromatically. You can modulate in half steps. You could modulate with just a simple chord progression into the next key. But many of the judges can't even hear it.
Yeah.
If your ending doesn't end with powerful drops, if it doesn't start with powerful drops, it's not deemed a proper intro, not deemed a proper ending, and it's they've literally taken the creativity out of it. It's not about art anymore.
Wow.
When unfortunately, well, when you compare a man like Glenn Brooks, he should have last in the Panama. That is to tell you something. That's how I say the most creative individual in the big band finals. Now, I'm not saying that he deserved to win, but they cannot tell me that a genius like him, that is revered by other musical genius internationally, worldwide, his arrangements is the least superior, or not more superior than at least one band in that panel. Or we judge it,
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then change the criteria to make it about what it is you want it to be about. Make it about the impact of the performance. Change the criteria to be about the performance, not the arrangement. Too much marks for the arrangement because you're not judging the arrangement.
Point, sir. Okay, there's another thing.
Before you go,
Go ahead.
and it's interesting enough that we touch on this topic because I didn't expect to talk about this. Someone with so much musical qualifications, and knowledge as Clive Zander, right?
Yeah.
He did a Panama song last year and refused to change the key. He did a whole 8 minutes or 6 minutes or whatever it was with no change key. And it had men telling me, oh, the man didn't change the key, what kind of song is that? But in no place in the criteria did it say that he had to change the key.
Yeah.
But it was deemed as not a qualifying or not a reputable arrangement. You understand what I said?
Yes.
So we have to change the criteria to make it what it really is, and let people know that this thing is not about creativity anymore. Musical creativity. Call it Best Village Panama, because that's what it is now.
Yeah. Sounds like there needs to be a meeting of heads of arrangers.
I was told that it was to have one. Actually, I was getting ready to book my ticket this week. It was to have a symposium with the judges and the arrangers. Well, I don't know. I think they said they canceled it. They had one before.
Okay, that's a good thing. So I'm sure you're a student of jazz history, and as one who grew up in the hip hop era. Do you see parallels between the evolution of African American music and the trajectory of the pan movement?
Yes and no. Well, there's small parallels in the sense that obviously it would have came out of grassroots. It would have developed from common people, the people of the as we like to say, for lack of better terms, the streets, the people of the community, the middle class or whatever it is, the lower class, and it's now developing into a thing where the high echelon or the upper class are now taking interest and they want to, invest and immerse into the culture. So you have those similarities. I think the only difference is, once again, the hip hop industry here, they went through their periods of uh, transitioning from what we deem as quality content to where it is now. But at least there was a point where those who did the quality content were recognized and given their flowers, and
Yeah.
and it's solidified for the whole world to see and for everyone to understand. It's documented properly. We don't have those things documented for Steelpan. There's no if I tell any musician friend of mine that don't know the culture who a Lembo shop is, 95% of them will probably tell me, or probably 99 tell me they don't know. They never heard of him before. Someone who's of the mental intellect and genius of a man like Stevie Wonder and some of the other greats. Len Booty Shop is not known internationally.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. So,
Yeah.
there's similarities and we have a long way to go still.
Yeah.
But I could, we have a long way to go.
Yeah. So here's what I was looking at in terms of trajectory. In both incidences, you have where the music came out as a more of a less of a dance form. It's more,
right.
And then it evolves into, look at jazz today. It's concert music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, is that where Panorama is headed? Are we getting into more musical theory, more cerebral music?
I think we passed the cerebral era. I think the cerebral era was the Chitsamru and the Booty Shop, and I think we've reached a point now where, and I'm glad actually. I wasn't even thinking of this, but yeah, you're making a great point in the sense that we've now moved away from the cerebral aspect, and now it's almost gotten to this place of presentation more than anything else. Because I guess we got bored of just hearing or just listening. We got bored of just listening to a performance. Now we need to see something, and it's the same thing for hip hop as well. If you think of how
yes, that's the parallel,
right? The extremities that hip hop artists go to these days to get their message across, is insane. And I'm hoping that us as the pan community never reaches that level, but everything should be within a certain within reason, right? But yeah, you're right. Yeah, it definitely started off in dance as dance music or dance genre, where the bands used to play for parties and stuff like that in the fets, and now and then, like as I said, the golden era, those guys were doing cerebral music, and now we reached a place where now it's about performance. Yeah, you're right. I wasn't even thinking of that, to be honest.
So, from the top of Andrew White's mountain of fulfillment, give me the view. What does it look like to be totally fulfilled in the Steelpan art form?
Totally fulfilled?
The ultimate goal.
To be totally fulfilled would to be, is to have a career outside of the community. A successful and a healthy career. I don't need to be famous. I don't need to be on the levels of a Drake or Kanye West. But to have a healthy career as a musician and for my music to touch the world globally, would fulfill me holistically.
Yeah.
And then, I could enjoy being a Panorama Ranger on the side.
Nice.
And just do that for fun.
Yeah.
If a band called me, I'll just do it and have a good time doing it.
All. So, Andre, what pans you play?
All. But my principal instrument is well, you can't see it here, but it's the second pan here.
Right. And who built your pans?
I have a couple of different instruments. I have 8 different sets of double seconds. So, but
Wow.
most of them were built from Augustus Peters, who's a personal friend of mine. Uh,
Yeah.
Actually, he would have built my first instrument, who I didn't know he built it. I would have gotten that
Uh-huh.
pan through Gill's Pan Shop in Europe by Mazzini Gill and Mott.
Yeah.
Uh, but actually, Gus built that instrument, and he maintains all my instruments right now. But I have some
Ah.
instruments from Tony Slater and a couple other guys. I can't remember exactly who they are at the moment. Butch Kelman used to maintain my instrument at a certain point as well. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I own quite a few different sets of double seconds.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. And what mallets you use?
Mallet Man, Mallet Man, pick up yourself, my brother, all the time. Yeah, these are these are one of his more ordinary. I like to keep it simple, and I wrap my own sticks. I'm very traditional in that sense. I like the attack
Yeah.
that I get from using the cricket bat handle rubber. I
Yeah.
cut them myself and I wrap them myself. These are normal. I think we said it is maybe oak. Yeah, oak wood.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're looking for sticks or mallets, Mallet Man is the guy right out in the
He's the
DMV
man.
area.
He's the man. He's the
He's the
man.
man.
So, give me 5 players whose work impresses you right now.
5 players who work impresses me right now. Victor Provost, Leon Foster Thomas, um, work or the play or the musicianship or the playing capability.
This impress you in any way?
Kyle Noel, Jason Baptiste, um, boy, number 5 is a hard one because I don't want to leave nobody off. Um, Man, an unsung hero of mine. I don't want to call him a hero, but an unsung great musician that doesn't get enough credit. I want to give this fella some light, especially because he goes through a rough time right now. But Quentin Rose, man, from right out here in New York, uh, an insane musician. He plays all the instruments as well. He's a keyboardist, but his musical intellect is something special. So, and there's other guys I look up to as well, and
Yeah.
I enjoy the music. Kareem Thompson, obviously Duvon, um, special mentions, and there's this young man out of St. Thomas, LJ Brathwaite, great pianist. But yeah, there's some really nice things happening internationally. Thomas Allen out of the UK. Yeah, man.
Okay. Andre, is there any topic that we didn't touch on that you'd like to share with our viewers?
We talk about everything.
I know.
Talk about everything. We talked about stuff. We talked about some stuff, man. I didn't think we were gonna talk about.
Cool, cool.
But no, man. Just hope that that everyone understands that the instrument has a long way to go, and that we don't. One thing I noticed throughout this Panorama season, the recent Panorama season with Trinidad is that too many of the musicians, the pianists, are putting too much focus on the competition itself and being able to brag about winning and losing. But we also have to understand that this thing has to grow, and it has to grow in a positive way. So understanding that, and to be mindful that the words that we say to each other are impactful, and that the world is always watching, right? So we have to be careful about how we're presenting ourselves and how we're interacting among each other. post competition and even while the competition's going on. But yeah, I love my fan community. I love the culture. I love my culture. I love the instrument, and hope everyone is doing well out there. And see you guys soon.
Okay. So where can people find you, your music online or your website?
Um, right now I'm on YouTube. You can look me up on YouTube. You can check me out on Instagram _Dre Culture 22.
Hmm.
I recently deactivated my Facebook, but normally you can find me on Facebook as well. But yeah, that's it for the most part. I'm in the process of fixing my website, so I pulled it down. I'm gonna put it back up soon. But yeah, when I get that information, I'll be sure to send it to you.
Okay. I appreciate that. Hey, Andrew, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast and giving us some insight into your journey as a panist. And I wish you continued success as a panist, man. And thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much. I
much.
appreciate you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right.